Welcome to Women Empower Active, an initiative started by UR Sportswear to empower women to find their own active adventure. Today, we're interviewing Amna Khan about her active adventure. She's a climber, but I'm also excited to learn more about her in this interview. We always start with this question, but like, how did you begin being active? Like, was there somebody who inspired you, a sibling or parent, or did you
Yeah.
just start it by yourself? Like what was the change that happened?
Right. So like my parents are pretty outdoorsy. Like so we grew up in Washington State, and so they like love to go out for like day hikes. And so we're pretty much like since were young, me and my siblings and all of us as a family would go out for like day hikes and then go out and have picnic at the end of the trail. And so obviously, we weren't like super stoked in the beginning. We were just like complaining about how steep the hike is and how we just want to like sit down and eat here. This like patch of green grass is fine. We don't have to go all the way to the end. Let's just like stay here. But like obviously, as we grew up and grew into it, we like enjoyed being outdoors and taking going on hikes. And so just and then my dad would also take go on multiple day backpacking trips with his friends during like on weekend trips. And so just knowing that he would be going out and I would just like sit there next to him while he's like packing and geeking out and like all this packing and like, oh, what's this? And like, oh, this is like a sleeping bag. Oh, you like sleep inside. And then he was like cleaning out his tent one time and I just like pitching it up for him. And then we'd crawl in there and just like have little weekends or like just like even like camp out in the backyard and in his tent and just have fun doing that. And so um got really into that. And then I think it was like sometime in my like sophomore year of college, I finally went on a backpacking trip with my dad, and it was like the greatest 2 days I've ever had. Just like my first time being like, wow, like I've like hiked, I think it was like around like 20 miles over 2 days. And so just being like, wow, I can like walk for that long and like still survive and feel pretty good about myself. And just having just like in shock of like my body being able to like walk for that long and being able to like survive in the outdoors and being like, oh, we can like withstand some like rain or in like all that like it's gonna be fine. Like after 20 miles my feet aren't like destroyed and like it's a great time outside. So I got into backpacking a little bit from then on. And then I like slowly introduced myself into mountaineering, probably like through all the Bear Grylls TV shows we were watching growing up and stuff. So just having that feed into it. And then like I think I remember in elementary school we had a like a traversing climbing wall. Like I did not know what climbing was back
Yeah.
then. So I was just like, cool, we have to do this during PE. Just like traversing on this like small, like probably like 5 feet tall bouldering wall, but it was just like a flat wall in the gym. And so I remember doing that. Um but I remember when like rock climbing first came into my like mind and was like, I really want to get into that was on the Zion National trip or Zion National Park family trip that we went on in
Mhm.
like I think it was 2011. And I just remember being in the shuttle at the end of the day, and there's like these group of like grungy, dirty people with their like large backpacks and they're climbing rope and they're just like metal clanging on them. And I'm just like, I don't know what that is, but I want to be part of it because they were talking about something and they were just having a good time. But I just was like, I want to be like that when I grow up. And
How
so that
old were
was like
you when you
I
said that?
was so I was like a junior in high school. Um and then so that was pretty much like when I was like kind of I think I like probably asked my dad about like what they were up to or something, and then was like, okay, cool, making note of that. Like we're gonna get into that soon. But yeah, it was I think since that backpacking trip, I like go back to that like feeling that I had afterwards and like during the whole trip, being like, this is amazing. Why have I never gone and done this before? Because I was like hiking with like friends and stuff before that, and then throughout college as well. And then, but yeah, just that backpacking trip was just like really eye-opening. And then obviously the Zion trip too, or yeah, seeing those like what we call now dirt bags. But yeah, be like, I want to be that dirty.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sounds like that backpacking trip like made you feel like super capable and like,
Yeah,
confident in yourself that you're
right,
able to like do this huge thing just with
right.
your body.
Yeah.
Did you do any organized sports when you're younger or growing up at all or?
So no, I didn't really like, get into any school sports or anything. I was just mostly like played soccer with my friends during like recess or just outside of school. But like there was one time I think in I think it was on sometime in high school. I think I tried out or like I thought like, oh, I like running a lot, so maybe I'll like join the track team. And so I like kind of pursued that for a little or tried to join the team, and then they like told me that I wouldn't be able to compete because of like me as like a modest dressing Muslim. They would say I wouldn't be able to compete. I could just like come and train with them. And so it was like I was like I mean there's like no point in me like going and
Oh yeah.
training for anything that I wasn't going to compete in. And so um I didn't really like push the coach on the ruling or any of like the rulings or that sort because I just like wasn't really keen into joining the team in the first place. So I was just like, oh, I guess it's not happening, whatever. But if I think I was like more into like if I wanted to join the soccer team and they weren't letting me do that, I probably would have like contacted someone higher up or been like, hey, this is not fair. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just was like, all right, cool, never mind, not for me.
Was it
But
just that your dress didn't match their uniform or like you felt
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they I think were wanting me to wear shorts, and I was like, I don't wear shorts.
Mhm.
And then they're like, well, then I was like, I can wear leggings, and they're like, well, then your top has to, and I was like, well, I don't want my top to be skin tight as well. And so they were like, well, if you're gonna do something like wear some loose fitting clothing, it wasn't gonna work. And I was like, okay. I know that they're like, you want to be like aerodynamic and stuff. I was like, it's fine. I'll just like be a little slower. It's okay. But they were like, no, no, just just it's okay. But they were like, no, it's just in the rulings when they do, I guess, to compete in their matches or something, then those races, I guess you can't be like qualified to go and run. And so I was like, okay, cool, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad because they should be able to do that
Right. Yeah.
for a religious exemption.
Exactly.
Seems pretty normal.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess like going into that too, like I wanted to kind of touch on this with like your like more outdoors and like climbing. Like how do you manage that? Like
Mhm.
having your hair covered and things like that. Like is that challenging?
For so I kind of like am on the I guess I don't completely cover my hair because I guess I wear beanies a lot and
Mhm.
some of my hair is showing in that sort. But I mean, there are many Muslim women that I've met who completely cover their hair and they've found other I think that like Nike, I believe, makes a hijab
Mhm.
that's like for runners and it's more of on the active side of things. And so that I think people found that one to be really easy and like seamless to climb in and not that hindrance. But I think I feel more comfortable, and obviously everyone has their own take of which one's more comfortable for them. And I think climbing in a beanie isn't that bad, or isn't that hard for me, even though like it might be like 100 degrees out and everyone's like, aren't you hot? And I'm like, yeah, I am, but it's fine. I'm kind of used to it now. But
Yeah.
yeah, so mostly in I just find that, and then like climbing in loose clothing is for me, I like even the thought of like when I see other people climb in shorts, I'm just like, how are you doing that? Because I'd be like bumping my knees everywhere. It'd be like cut up. So
Mhm.
I've been wearing pants, and I think it's just being grown up in a modest clothing and way. I just am used to wearing pants in the summer and like not wearing tank tops or, and I also feel comfortable in when I climb, and I feel like it's not restricting in a way. Like I can still do that dyno, or I can still reach out and do a heel hook and it'll be fine too. And so in that aspect, I don't feel like it holds me back or I feel uncomfortable in that way. So
Yeah, I feel like we kind of got ahead of ourselves. I wanted to get back into like how you started climbing
oh
and
yeah.
like, yeah, how did like you saw those guys, and
Hmm.
then like how did
Okay.
that happen?
I think it was like I took a I think it was like my last year in college. I took a women's climbing class from through REI. I think it's like a beginner's class. I can't remember if it's like an climbing 101, but it was like a sport climbing class. And so we just went to the Seattle REI and like roped up and learned how to tie a figure eight and met these like amazing other climbing women. Um, and I like was so stoked afterwards and like didn't get anyone's number, and I was just like, yeah, I'll meet up and be like but it was just like I think the week before went to the REI garage sale and like bought a old pair of climbing shoes that like I think I still have to this day, but they're like a size too big and just super baggy. But I just remember like climbing at the REA store and just being like, this is amazing. Like I'm on like this high off the ground, like still petrified of heights, but like
Hmm.
this is yeah, just being like, where am I, and like how easy it feels to get up on the wall. And as an engineer, just like I love a good problem to solve. And so I mean, climbing in itself to me is a problem. I have to go to from point A to point B, and so it was like easy for me to get into it. And so like I also moved to Utah for work right out of college, and so I didn't know anyone there and didn't have family or friends out there, and so just out of work, I would not like I would want to like not be sitting at home alone because I wasn't like living with with roommates or anything, and so I would just like go to the climbing gym and just to like not be in the silence of my apartment, but also just like in a way like try to make friends and be a little bit active as well when I can't go for a hike after work. And so yeah, I just started out being like, okay, I'm just gonna go to the climbing gym. I'm kind of into it, but I like don't know what I'm doing. I'm still like falling all over the place. Um, and then I like made friends, and then it like turned into like a social event, and then it was just like climbing turned out to be like my favorite way of enjoying the outdoors. It was like challenging at times, but also like seeing and being part of other people's joy and like them overcoming their struggles and watching them succeed through it. It was like another just amazing opportunity. Like obviously we're outside, but also like with great people. And so it was just like I think it's just very wholesome. And then like me as like a shy person, I think it also like broke out of that. I wouldn't call myself like an introvert, but I think it kind of made me more of an extrovert because I would be more willing to talk to people at the gym and be like discussing the climbing or the problem I was working on,
Hmm.
or just like being really social in that sense. And so I think it like definitely grew me as a person too, just moving to a place where I don't know anyone. And so climbing was that for me, was that like outlet for me to like get out of that shell. And so yeah, it's just, and so like since then it's just been like, oh, we're gonna go where, and I want to go and see that, and being like pictures of these amazing tall walls, and just wanting to be on there or around it was a goal of mine. So yeah.
Did you like climb outside when you were in Utah a lot, or how did you get to that point? Because I think that's like a jump for a lot of people. Like,
Mm,
I'll go to climb in the gym, and that's like a really great community. But then
yeah.
maybe that next step, there's so many people that just climb in gyms and don't go
Yeah.
outside. So,
Yeah, because so, like the even when I like first climbing at water, I was like, okay, ropes are expensive. I have to get a harness. I have to get like all these quick draws. And so I don't want to invest in all that. So we're just going to be bouldering, and it'll be like, oh, I need like a crash pad and shoes, and it'll be great. And then I like met a friend who had a harness and had a rope and all the other gears. And then they were like, let's go outside. And so I'd go outside and learn from them again, like how to belay and do all that. And then I think I got kind of hooked. And then I was like, well, I'm now buying myself a harness. And then I just got myself like a harness and a pair of quick draws, and was just like, okay, cool. I can like lean on someone else to have rope. And so but like I think slowly but surely I like got into that. But it was pretty much like someone else was taking me outside and showing me the ropes and what to do and what not to do. And then but yeah, we went like really, I think there's like, I mean, Utah is like known for its climbing. So it's
Mhm.
like behind, I think it's like 15 minutes away from my work would be like a climbing crag, and we would just go after work or even on the weekends. And then like Idaho is pretty close, so City of Rocks is over there, and that's like 2 hours away from where I was living. And so it would be like easy for to take like a weekend or even a day trip out there. And so um yeah, it was just other people taking me and then like being in that area or in the environment to being like, oh, this is like really accessible, and so why not we're go from the gym and then to the outside.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you just kind of like got hooked in and then
Oh yeah, like yeah, I was like not expecting to. It's like the same way that I think trad climbing also came into my life, was like, oh yeah, that's like an insane amount of money. I don't know if I have that, nor like I don't know if I'd like feel comfortable with it. But then I was like following a lot of trad climbing that I was going with my partner at the time,
Mhm.
and he was just putting up routes, and I was just like having to follow and clean them. And so we're still having a great time. And then I think this is like around COVID started, and then we started getting those uh oh, I can't even think, the like what was it, $1,000 of um
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. I
yeah,
don't know what
I don't
what's
know
it,
what they're called.
the stimulus or
Yes, the
yeah.
stimulus
I'm
checks.
like, what
It's
is that
yeah, yeah. Yeah, through the stimulus checks, I was like, okay, well, we've got some money now. We're just
word?
gonna put it all into some trad racks. And so
Yeah.
pretty much got into trad that way, and was like, all right, I'm gonna build my own little gear collection, and then go have some fun with some trad. And I pretty much haven't looked back, because like I think as it goes, like, oh, bouldering's amazing, then the
Mhm.
sport, and now it's just like trads at the top, and it's
Yeah.
just pure fun. And so yeah.
What do you like the task, like the technical aspect of trad, or like what? Because I'm still like no on trad.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I've followed some people, but it didn't inspire confidence in me as far as doing it. So
yeah. Mm, yeah. I
yeah.
think it was definitely just, I think I had like almost a whole summer of just following trad lines, and I wasn't like placing. I maybe I like led on while pieces were already placed. And so um just like that over like that bot or that positive feedback over and over and over again, I was like, all right, this isn't that bad. Like I'm still like, I think most of the climbs weren't like I was jamming at the time or like crack climbing. It was more of just like this adventure trad, I like to call it, where there's a crack but you're not really using it. You can like, there's like plenty of face holds or jugs, and so you're just like getting used to placing pieces, and then also just like being focused on like, okay, I'm not gonna really fall here, I can take my time and um place a piece or make sure it's solid before I keep climbing. But definitely just the repetitive of following someone who's following up or a trad route. And so, yeah, I think it was just that, because like, I mean, at first I was just like, I don't know if I trust these pieces, and just like you, where I was like, I don't know if I like can trust myself even
Yeah.
in. And so I think it was just pretty much being like, okay, these routes aren't so bad. I just need to like get the technique down and then also like learn how to place pieces properly.
Yeah. So it's just like trusting yourself and like feeling
Yeah.
confident.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I mean, for crack climbing specifically, it's like a different movement. And so like obviously we're not like pulling on pieces, we're pulling on ourselves kind of thing.
Mhm.
Or so making being confident in like how we slot our hands into a hand jam and being like, okay, that's definitely not gonna go. And then like I mean, sure there are times when I'm like doing a finger crack and I'm like, dude, I don't want to lose some fingers, but like
Yeah.
you just have to be like, all right, I will be able to let these go if I like my feet cut or something, or if I were to fall. Um, but I think it's just all in like that practice and being repetitive technique building. And so, yeah.
I think that's a really good point because like anytime you're or anytime like I'm afraid of something, I have to remember like, oh, this is a skill. And like once you
Mhm.
learn about it, you're not going to feel
Yeah.
that like same fear because you know like what to
Yeah.
do in those situations.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were a mechanical engineer by education,
Mhm.
but then decided you didn't want to do that anymore. Like,
Yeah.
why did you decide that? And then like, what are you doing now?
Okay, so this is a great story because I like love telling it. But I think it was around like the third year I was working at my last job, and the work environment was just getting really toxic. And I was like, all right, it's time for me to find a new job. Like my coworkers were also like had left by then, and so we were all through it. And so I was applying for jobs on my third year, but wouldn't I like didn't have any luck and didn't land any jobs. And so in October of 2021, I watched this documentary film, The Alpinist. I think many of us, or at least climbers or outdoorsy people, have known about the life of Marc Andre Leclerc.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like so profound of like how life is so short and like the small like little voice that was like in my head that was like whispering this whole time and was wishing that I would just like quit my job and like travel the country and like start exploring and like climbing the climbing areas just like got really loud and was like, okay, we're actually doing this. And so I think it was like I think I went to bed and being like trying to like just think of things of like how I'm gonna plan this, um, where am I gonna how like all the things like just making like checklists of like okay, I'm gonna have to build out my car, I'm gonna have to do this and that. But it was I think the yeah so on my fourth year of working there, I like quit my job on like July 20 to 2022 of last year. Or yeah, July of last year. And so I haven't worked a day since. And it's been amazing. I've been just like living on the road and it's just been a roller coaster of like fun and like obviously there's been a few hardships and stuff, but like obviously you like meet a couple bad apples all along the way. And then but like those don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And so but just having a blast and just climbing a lot, trying not to get injured
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have like health insurance and it's just like a little spooky when I go out and climb and like try hard. Yeah, so along the way, while I was living on the road, I was started selling t-shirts. And so I like not much of it's come from it, but I like kind of want to get more into it. I just need to like find a print shop that will like that I can like trust, and it won't like because I right now I'm like having some really hard production issues with them, and so they've I know like a handful of people have been like I we want the long sleeves, and I'm like I know they're coming, but I'm just like having a hard time with them, um, and so hopefully something will come out of that. But right now I've been my savings have kind of gone low, and so like even thinking about doing t-shirts right now are kind of like on the back burner. So I've been like trying to apply for engineering jobs, preferably like remote, so I can like still continue to explore and climb around. And so we'll see if I can land a job, and that'd be great because then I will have like a steady income, and I won't have to like. I mean, otherwise I probably just like start being like a lifty or something during the winter and or like a lift engineer or something at some ski resort. But we'll see how that goes. And so I'm like there's hopes, and I think it was a handful of jobs I've already applied to, and so hoping to hear back good news. And so we'll see where that goes.
How are you going to build that? And you said you want to do like remote, but you're going to have to like build that into your lifestyle.
Yeah. I I probably will have to like go find like cafes or something, because right now I think I if I were to like sit in my like front driver's seat and work for 8 hours, I don't think it'd work.
No.
Yeah, because like my whole back of my SUV is like fully built out and I can't sit upright in there. And
Mhm.
so it would be definitely just sitting up in the front for 8 hours. Um, but maybe it'll be like a couple months at a time. I'd probably like stay at like a climbing area nearby or something, and then do that and maybe see how that works, or maybe like get some small place at a time, like Airbnb it or something, because I'll be working by then. So maybe
Yeah.
maybe I can afford it then. So we'll see. Yeah.
Well, if you can be remote, you could definitely go all over the place and stay in Airbnbs if that's like what you want to do. So I have this like total random question.
Yeah.
But like some days, and I think it's because like I work inside, but like some
Hmm.
days, like I just feel like I need to be out in outside, like in nature, just to see the day before it like
Oh,
leaves. Do
yeah.
you still like get that feeling, or like does like being outside more like kind of quench that thirst for being like outdoors? Like I don't know if you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about,
I
but
I do. I do
yeah.
because I would my last job I was in a cubicle, and
Mhm.
so I would work like 9 hours and then like leave the house and then like or leave work and then like go back home, and then just like this endless cycle of being like indoors for like the 5 days of the week, and then being like, oh my God, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
But I think right while like living on the road, I think it was more of like a sense of stability, because I would have to like wake up and like set up my kitchen every morning, and then it wasn't like I just got out of bed and then like go made a cup of coffee, or just like didn't have to like wake up in a rainstorm and then be like, oh, I have to like wait for to cook, or like find a spot that it wasn't so windy and I can cook properly. Or it was just like that was like one aspect of it, being like outdoors 24/7, but also just being like your sense of community isn't there, because like your friends will leave because they have responsibilities that they have to go to, um and so there you wouldn't see them as often as you would want, and so that was a little disconcerting in that sense. So when you're like in a place, so you have a house or like an apartment, and then you get like your friends are around you all the time, and then you can meet up whenever they're free, and it's not like I'm only here from like this day to this day, and you're like trying to overlap these dates, and but you can't, and then you're like you're gonna miss them, and then yeah, you're just trying to like find a way to like meet up and not be like, sorry dude, I'll see you in like a few months or something, or a year, and you're like, no, I missed the time slot. And so there's that I missed really a lot when I was living in Utah, was like I could just go to the climbing gym and there would be all my friends, or I could make a, make plans to go bowling or something with a friend. And but yeah, now there isn't that much of that, but it's just like the community that you like drive to a crag, or the new friends that you make at those places, and then like soon after they'll have to leave, or you'll have to leave for other reasons. I think being outside, so I like still love being outside. I'm just like, yeah, this is amazing. I'm like outside all the time.
Yeah.
But I guess there's different aspects of I'm like kind of bummed about that I miss about like home life.
Yeah, just like that structure and like you know exactly where you're gonna be every
Yeah,
like the routine of it too.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's trade-offs. Like
Mhm.
when you're car camping or like or living, car living,
Mhm.
where do you like park your car usually? Is it by the crag or like where are you?
Um, yeah, it's mostly by like at least for me, I like try to pick some free BLM spots, and so or forest land that I can park at. So it's like relatively close to the climbing areas, and then I think I've really stayed away from like parking at or in suburbs or in like cities just because I'm alone and I'd
Mhm.
rather not. I'd rather be in
Yeah.
like the woods, and so yeah. It makes it easier to cook too, and obviously go to the bathroom because I don't have one of those composting toilets, and so yeah.
Do you ever feel like nervous about sleeping in there by yourself, or you got over that? Or
I think I mean, like when I moved to Utah, I was pretty much like hiking alone, and then I like did this. I think it was during like Memorial Weekend or something. I went and did this drive that I went from like northern Utah to like Zion or to Bryce Canyon and then all the way to the Arches, and it was like this big V or like yeah, it was a big triangle, and just I I went to yeah, I was pretty much all alone, and didn't know anyone then, and so it's just like yeah, I'm just gonna go drive out there. I think I booked a hotel though. I didn't camp in my car at the time, and I think I've just been like hiking alone, and so I'm like pretty confident myself, but I also like have measures just in case, and like I think that confidence definitely came over a time period. Like it's definitely hard to be like, okay, yeah, if someone tries to do something to me or like tries to attack, I can kind of have like my wits of myself, and I can just like say like prevent or protect myself in that way. And then I always have bear spray, which is great for humans as well.
yeah.
So that's nearby, and that's pretty much it. I don't really like keep anything else. I think I've a friend gave me a knife that also is next to my car or not next to my bed. And so I keep those pretty close. I guess you get stairs when I like go into I think one time I like slept in Walmart, and that was where I got a few stairs because I think I was cooking dinner at the time, and they're like, what is going on? And then I was just like, well, we're just gonna lay in bed before the sun like as sunset's happening, and so it's not just like okay, yeah, there's someone in there right now. And so especially when it gets dark, I just try to go to bed earlier.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody really would notice that you're
Yeah. Yeah, I've got like window covers so like no one can like peek through, and I haven't had a problem with the cops or anything either, so just because I'm like on BLM most of the time, um and then I think Walmart's pretty safe to like sleep in and or sleep at, and so yeah, just yeah, keeping quiet, and especially in like city areas, and so just haven't had a problem. And yeah, that's which is great because I've heard a few people who have had like incidences with like other people, and it's not been great. And so, but yeah, thankfully not for me.
yeah. What is BLM? Is-
Oh, that's like a Bureau of Land Management. So it's like I think it's like I don't know if it's federal or like by state, but there's just like free land that you can camp at.
oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes there's porta potties that are put up there, and so which
Yeah.
is really nice.
Yeah, good find for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think like you can I think there's a site that says like freecampsites.org or .com or something that I like really look up, and yeah, that one is really great for finding free campsites. I guess it's campsites than BLM land, but I guess I don't know. I call it BLM.
Like I don't
Yeah.
know. Is there any like so talking more about like your adventures, like what goals do you have for yourself?
Um, so it's like kind of for like short term wise, it
Mhm.
like varies because I like get injured or something happens and I'm like, cool, I can't really do that. Or like during the winter, I was like in January, it was like climbing my hardest trad line, which is like an 11A and Joshua Tree, and then I like was snowboarding right after, and then I was just like not climbing through that whole time. And so I pretty much I think lost most of my strength there. And so it's like, okay, my goal for like climbing an 11 or a 12, a 512, both trad and sport, isn't going to happen in the in near future, but I feel like it might happen in like a year or so now. But and then like I got a concussion while I was snowboarding. So I was like out for like 2 3 weeks and just like didn't know what was going on. And then like I've been having like knee pain, so I've been working on that. And so like currently, like, it's like short term wise, it's like okay, we need to fix my knees, not have knee pain, and then so we're like doing PT and like but then like I'm also still climbing. So like just like the other day I was like went and climbed at the gym and like did like 30 laps in an hour. And
Yeah.
so I like on the audible way and I was just like, cool, we can still climb and we're like still focusing on our knees, but also like not trying to push ourselves way too hard in that aspect. But then like um I think for long-term goals wise,
Yeah.
there's so many like for like mountaineering wise, I'm like I really want to climb Mount Denali,
Mhm.
and then like do Rainier once again because like the first time I did it, it was like during the like the worst world wildfire season and like
Oh,
the views weren't so great. I was just like above the smoke line, and so it was like uneventful. And so definitely want to do that again. But Denali would be pretty amazing if I could get my get my ass to do that one.
yeah.
And then for rock climbing specific, it was like as a Pakistani girl, I would just like really want to climb in my home country. And so like I mean like there's definitely in the capital, like you can go climb in some of the hills back there, but like to like climb Trango Towers in the Karakoram Range is would be like the ultimate dream, and I could probably die happy if I climbed and came back down safe.
Yeah.
um, but also like along with that, it would be like climbing Moonlight Buttress in Zion, just so I could be one of those dirty, grungy people on the bus. Hey, someone else inspired me, and so I should inspire someone else, and that would be so lovely.
Is that what they were
Did
working
I
on?
cut again?
Oh yeah, you did for a sec. It's
I
okay.
okay. Okay. But I don't know what they were working on, but I
Oh,
think
okay.
that is one of the climbs that is in Zion. And then that one is like a 12 or maybe it's like a 13. I think it's a 513 something. Or maybe it's a 12. I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly. But it's pretty hard. And it's I think a really well known climb in Zion too. So it'd be just another amazing and like it's a beautiful line. So yeah, it'd be great to do that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are you more inspired about like being going to a place and like climbing there than like grades or like
Mm,
what's more valuable to you?
I think it's definitely um in a place. I think the climbs definitely come secondary, but I think just being like looking at the line and at the route and being like that is so gorgeous and just wanting to be on there. Like for like mountaineering wise, I've like I think for a couple of years ago I was like telling everyone I was like I want to do go do K2 when if I'm like ever strong enough to do that.
Mhm.
Just because it was also it's in Baksan as well. And so like I would still be proud of myself and like give it an accomplishment if I just did like Joshua Berm 2 or like G1 or G2. And so or like even of the nearby mountains around there, even though they might not be well known, it would be still like yeah. So it's mostly like on where or like the climbing area than the climb itself. So but like Trango Towers, like there's like a handful of lines on that tower that are made, but like at high elevation. So I feel like you have to be climbing at a certain level to be able to even like attempt it. And so I think the grades definitely like you have to, I guess, strive to be climbing that hard.
Yeah.
And so it's just an added thing. But like I think when I first did my first 511, it was I think I was like, oh, that's it. I won't do like a 512. I'm not gonna like chase grades in that sense, but I think it's just for me when I like chase grades, or like I say when I climb that hard, is like just so I can achieve my like goal of climbing somewhere in Pakistan, or yeah, in those areas, because I know that I have to be that level of a climber to attempt to even go out there
Yeah, that's
and
like a
feel safe about it too. So yeah.
yeah, and confident in like your abilities. That like
Yeah.
is such a good way to like look at things too, is
Mm-hmm.
and kind of goes back to like you and your dad the hiking, because you're
Right.
like, my body can do this. This is amazing.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
let me get my body to this point so I
Yeah.
can achieve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep,
Definitely.
super inspiring. Um, so I wanted to ask this question, and we kind of got into it a little bit earlier, but
Yeah.
you self-identified well on Instagram as a
Hmm.
proud Muslim, and I
Yeah.
wanted to like talk about what that meant for you.
Yeah. So I think it was like around like probably the Trump administration or something when I like first wrote that. I mean, like I've always like, believed it since before then, or but I think I like wanted people to go to my Instagram page and be like, okay, yeah, this is a badass woman that like also is Muslim, but she also does other things. And so I think it was like also the time when there was like tragic news stories involving Islamophobia and like from like the Taliban and like extremists out there. And so I just like wanted to kind of express that like I wasn't ashamed of being Muslim at the time, or and am still at now. And I just like, and even though I was like born into a family that is Muslim, and I like didn't fully accept it or didn't own it myself, and so I wanted to like be like, yeah, I'm proud and I like believe it, and Islam isn't like oppressive, and wanting to like shine a brighter light on Islam. And so like in a way it would be like someone who would come to my page would I guess like kind of meet me and be like, oh, this is what a true Muslim is like, and they're not like the ones that are on the news. And so even when I was living in Utah, it was like not much diversity, and so I like felt the public's eye a lot, and especially with like the news. And so yeah, I just like wanted to write it down and be like kind of little like shout to say like, yeah, I'm a Muslim and I like belong in these areas. And um and so in that sense I was just like trying to show them my like my pride in my religion and my beliefs. And so it's um yeah, I guess that's kind of it.
Yeah. Well, it's very important. Like representation matters, and like
Mm-hmm.
you're doing all these amazing things, and
Yeah.
it's so relatable to people, I think, too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
Yeah.
giving that personality to somebody who's also happens to be Muslim, but is also
Yeah.
a human person. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I think that's a great answer.
Thanks.
Um, and I did want to ask you, because
Yeah.
I personally struggle with this,
Mm.
but like when things aren't like tangible, like what makes you feel like I got not tangible, but just like being able to like record things by time or structure what success means. Like what makes you
Mm.
feel proud about like climbing or being active?
Yeah. So I think it's like really tough because obviously it's like you said, it's not like tangible, or like you can't
Mhm.
see it. It's like I have to like go back to that backpacking trip where I was like I found pride in my body, and like the way it like now it like dances up the wall, and like sometimes it's floating and sometimes I'm not like having a battle up there. But it's just like just finding pride in it and being like, okay, wow, it's like functioning as it should. It's like obviously like I think we have those battles on the wall or outside or off the wall, and so it's definitely tough to find that pride in ourselves. um and so like even for like many years when I was younger, and even sometimes now I like find myself like nitpicking and critiquing my body, like why doesn't it look a certain way, or like why am I not performing as well as I could be when like my friends or someone I like look up to is like already like reached there or like at a limit that I really want to be at. And so whether it's like I'm like trail running or hike, I tend to focus on like the power of my like mind and how my body is like sometimes like screaming defiance and like being like we should stop, like my quads are on fire after like a really long day of snowboarding and I like should stop, and but I'm like continuing like turning the board and like going down the hill and not like falling, and or like calling it quits and just hiking back down the hill. And so I just like try to come back to that like moment where I'm like my mind is more powerful than my body is currently, but it's still like being able to perform and do what I need it to do, even though like sure my I may not look physically the way I want to, or like I guess it's um I guess it could be like also like not performing because you're obviously you're falling or you're not climbing at the level you want to be climbing at because like you've been putting this much time and effort into it. And so it can also be like that little fight in there as well. But like I again like I try to go back to that first backpacking trip where I was like amazed and proud that I completed these like 20 miles, and I just like remember looking at my feet. I think I had like one or two blisters on there and be like, damn, these like these can take me so far, and it's just like only 20 miles over 2 days. And so like thinking of like people climbing hiking the PCT and they're going for like months at a time, and then being like, wow, I'm just like in shock with just like the little things. And then yeah, just being like your body is doing it the way it needs to, and just finding pride in that is really amazing. And so that's how I see it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this transitions nicely into our final question for Women Empower
Mm,
Active, which is what words of empowerment would you give to, a sister or a friend who, either wants to try something new or be
mm,
consistent with being active?
yeah. Yeah, I guess it really has to go back to that because it's like obviously like in our fast-paced world right now, we have a like tendency to like get automatic feedback, or just like we like buy something on Amazon, we'll get it in like the next day. And so we have to be like it can be like tough to see like a slow progress or a progression in ourselves. Like it could be good or even like find positiveness or positivity in it as well. And so it's just like I have to like remind, or at least I have to remind myself, but I would like probably remind my like younger self that like we're human, and it's or we're in like a constant state of like learning. And so every little action should be celebrated. So it could be like whether it's just like getting up in the morning without pain, because like you could be having like it could be after like an injury, or like I was talking about like the winter season not climbing. And so just like getting back on the wall, and it's like seem daunting at the time, and then like being disappointed like, oh, it used to be climbing a V3 and now I can only do a V2, or something like that. And so or like a V0 even. And so just being able to be like, okay, I like I can still pull with my arms and do a pull up, or I can like still hang from the bar and still be like, that's amazing. Like not many people can still do that. And so I think it's just like outside of like comparing ourselves to others and their achievements, I think we have to like come we should like never try to compare ourselves to like our old self. So I like even when I talk about like, oh, January Amna was climbing 11A trad and now she's not, but that's okay. Like I like the time in between then and now is like um those like joyful and tough moments become, or like those like moments that we've had during that time, it like makes us who we are now. We should celebrate those like small victories. every day, even if it's like waking up and being able to brush your teeth because like my elbow tendonitis isn't hurting today and I can do that. So, or just yeah, or like I don't have a migraine because I my concussion's better, or I can like go outside and not wear sunglasses because of that. And just like small little things we should like vocally celebrate or even like journal about, because I think at least for me now, like since my concussion and like my injuries, I've been like writing them down. So like when I'm in that mindset of being like everything's horrible, I can't do it, my body's not listening to me, or whatever it may be, I just like go back to those pages where I'm like writing down like, oh, today I did this is amazing, or like, yeah, heck yeah, I like can climb decently hard, or it's not hard at all, but it's like, in that moment I like felt good. And we need to like celebrate those little things, even though we're like not getting to complete like 100% um full uh beast mode or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, just yeah. And so like I still have those days where I'm just like, damn, I need I I like don't like what I'm doing, or like my body's not looking the right way, or just being on myself. And so I just have to also come back to it. And so I like would definitely tell my younger self or my friends and that like stop comparing your old self to you. It's not good.
Mhm.
But but yeah, having a good support system that'll help check in as well with you. Obviously, like if you that's always obviously helpful in that mindset too. And so especially coming out of an injury or even like learning a new skill, it's always like your body doesn't know what it's doing, and so you're just learning in in its weird way, and it'll take time, and sometimes people learn faster, and that's just how they are. And but your body's doing amazing, and just keep fighting it. You got it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that. Like celebrating all things, even if they're small, like really just
yeah.
appreciating your body for all the things that it
Hmm.
does for
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Yeah.
Like that's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, I like I said, I'm like still have a hard time. I'm like, oh, and then I'll like call up my friend and she's like, no, you're doing great. Like you've had a concussion, or like you have gone through it a lot. You need to like chill out. Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. And yes, support system is very important. So, being able to have that friend to call up to talk to is important too. If anybody wants to like follow you on Instagram or your t-shirt company, is there anywhere
Yeah.
that they could follow you?
Yeah, so far I only have like my personal Instagram, which is at Mellow Mountain. I mean my DMs are always open, so if anyone wants to chat, then they are feel free to do so. But I also have an email set up for my t-shirts. It's friends with friends one at outlook.com, all one word. But that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, but I think my Instagram's like kind of private right now still. I don't know if it'll ever make it public, but we'll see. But yeah, my DMs are always open and always willing to chat with anyone and everyone. So yeah.
Great. Oh, you can follow me personally. That's at Jacalyn Gross, JACALYNGROSS. I mostly take pictures while I am running. You can follow UR Sportswear. That's the letter U, the letter R, Sportswear on all social platforms. You can check out any of our products at ursportswear.com. If you're listening to this and you want to watch the video version, you can go to UR Sportswear's YouTube channel and check out our videos there. This video is and the audio version is produced by Jeremy Canaria and edited by me. Amna, thank you so much for doing this.
No,
You're
thanks for having
amazing.
me.
And I'm so glad to get to know you. I
Yeah.
like this has been so cool. And I know you're in Washington for a very short period of time, but
Yeah.
maybe I'll see you at the climbing gym.
Yeah. Awesome. Great talking to you too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.